The book still sits on the top shelf of my office, its spine faded, pages untouched. How to Grow Up. My parents gave it to me on my 21st birthday, wrapped in glittery paper and disappointment. I keep it there as a reminder, not of their wisdom, but of the moment I realized I was on my own. This morning, sunlight spills across my glass desk, catching the reflection of the city's skyline. My assistant just left a latte beside my laptop. Oat milk, 1 pump vanilla, just how I like it. I scroll through the quarterly reports of my company, the numbers dancing across the screen like quiet applause. 5 years ago, I couldn't even afford rent. Now I own a marketing agency worth millions. My phone buzzes, Mom flashing across the screen. I hesitate. The last time we spoke, she told me I was too proud for my own good. Still, something in me, guilt, maybe, makes me answer. Her voice is clipped, formal. Your father, and I want to talk. About your business. There's a pause, deliberate, heavy. What about it? I ask, keeping my tone neutral. She clears her throat. We think it's only fair we get a share. 40%. My chest tightens. For a moment, all I can hear is the hum of the air conditioner and the faint tapping of my manicured nails against the desk. 40%. Of the life they told me would never work. I lean back in my chair, eyes on that book across the room. How to Grow Up. Oh, I did. Just not the way they wanted. I can still remember that birthday. The one where everything quietly cracked open. It was late spring in Ohio, warm enough for bare feet on the porch, the air thick with the smell of barbecue and lilacs. Mom had set the table with her usual perfection, matching napkins, polished silverware, the cake from her favorite bakery. Dad sat at the head, scrolling through his phone, pretending not to be bored. I had just finished pitching my new idea, a small online marketing service. I wanted to start with the $1,200 I'd saved from tutoring kids. I told them how I'd help small businesses find clients through social media, how digital marketing was growing fast, how this could be my start. Dad's laugh was sharp, cutting. You think people will pay you to play on the internet? Mom didn't even look up. Sweetheart, it's time you grew up. Real adults get real jobs. The world doesn't need another dreamer. And then she handed me the gift bag. Pink tissue paper, gold ribbon, and inside, a hardcover book with bold letters screaming, How to Grow Up. I remember holding it, my hands trembling. Everyone laughed, even my cousin who barely knew me. My cheeks burned as I tried to laugh too, but my throat locked up. Later that night, after everyone left, I sat on my bed with that book in my lap. The smell of frosting still clung to my fingers. My grandmother, Evelyn, knocked softly and slipped inside. She'd always been my quiet ally, the one who saw through their noise. She looked at the book, then at me, her silver hair catching the lamplight. They don't understand you, honey, she said. But you don't need their permission to grow. She pressed something into my hand, a small silver pendant shaped like a compass. When the world tells you where to go, she whispered, listen to your own direction. That night, I packed my suitcase. Just a few clothes, my laptop, and that pendant around my neck. I left a note on the kitchen counter. Thanks for the book. I'll let you know when I've grown up. Then I walked out into the stillness of dawn, my car stuffed with dreams too fragile to explain. The road was empty, but for the first time in my life, I didn't feel lost. The first year away from home was brutal. I slept on a pull-out couch in a friend's apartment in Chicago, my office, nothing more than a second-hand laptop and a dream that kept flickering between foolish and fearless. I took any work I could get, designing logos for $50, managing small social media pages, writing ad copy that barely paid for groceries. I'd sit in coffee shops for hours, sipping 1 cup of cold brew that had long lost its chill, pretending the buzz of conversation was motivation instead of background noise to my fear. There were nights when the city lights felt like judgment, when I'd stare at my reflection in the dark window and whisper, maybe they were right. But every time that doubt crept in, I'd hold the little silver compass Evelyn had given me. I'd rub my thumb over its surface until the fear softened, until I could breathe again. My first break came from a woman named Julia Meyer, a business owner with tired eyes and a voice that meant business. She ran a small handmade jewelry brand and needed marketing help. I pitched her everything I knew, my voice shaking as I explained SEO and brand storytelling. After a long pause, she smiled. "You talk like someone who's got something to prove," she said. "All right. You've got 3 months to make me believe it." Those 3 months changed everything. I poured myself into her campaign, working 16-hour days, learning every trick, every algorithm. When her sales tripled by the end of the quarter, she hugged me like a proud sister. "You've got fire in you, kid," she said. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." That validation, it was oxygen. I started building my own small agency, one client at a time. I named it North and Rise Marketing, inspired by that compass pendant that never left my neck. The work grew faster than I did. Soon I had 2 freelancers, then 5. A year later, we landed a contract with a mid-sized tech firm. I remember crying quietly in my bathroom that night, not from happiness, but disbelief. Still, I kept my success quiet. My parents would occasionally call, mostly to ask if I'd found a stable job yet. I'd give vague answers. "Yeah, I'm managing a few projects," because the truth felt too precious to hand to people who once mocked it. Social media became my shield. I'd post coffee photos, sunsets, the occasional client gift, but never the milestones that mattered. Not the office lease, not the first hire, not the 6-figure deal. I wasn't hiding out of fear anymore. I was protecting peace. Years passed. The girl with trembling hands was gone, replaced by a woman who had built something solid, something real. But late at night, when I'd see that dusty book on my shelf, I'd still feel that flicker of resentment. Because part of me knew one day they'd come back. And when they did, I wanted to be ready. The day they came to my office, the sky was all glass and gold, the kind of crisp Manhattan morning that makes you feel like anything's possible. I'd just finished a meeting when my receptionist buzzed me. "Miss Parker," she said softly, "there's a couple here asking for you. They said they're your parents." My stomach dipped. I hadn't told them where my office was. Somehow, they'd found it anyway. I took a slow breath, smoothing the sleeve of my cream blouse, steadying myself before stepping into the lobby. There they were, Mom, perfectly pressed in her mauve suit, pearls shining at her throat. Dad, older, heavier, holding that same self-assured expression that used to make me shrink. "Darling," Mom said, smiling as if we'd spoken yesterday, "you look professional." I almost laughed. Professional. That word used to mean boring, obedient, employed by someone else. "Come in," I said, leading them to my office. The space was open and bright, floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist decor, a view of Central Park. On the wall behind my desk hung the framed compass logo of North and Rise Marketing. Dad's eyes flicked over everything, the awards, the glass plaques, the signed client photos. "So, this is yours?" "All of it," I said, quietly. Mom gave a polite nod, but her eyes darted around like she was calculating something. "It's lovely, dear. We're proud of you." For a brief moment, I wanted to believe her. But then came the next line. "And," she continued, folding her hands neatly, "we've been talking about how much we sacrificed for you. The education, the food, the roof over your head. You wouldn't be here without us. So, your father, and I think it's only fair that we receive 40% of your business profits." The words hung in the air like poison. Dad added, "We're not asking for everything, just what's fair. You owe us that much." I looked at them, really looked. The same people who had laughed when I dared to dream, who'd handed me a book instead of belief, now wanted a cut of the life I'd built from their doubt. I could feel the sting of old wounds reopening, but beneath it all was something new: composure. I stood, walked slowly to the bookshelf, and pulled down How to Grow Up. I placed it on the desk between us. "You remember this?" Mom frowned, unsure where this was going. "Of course. It was supposed to help you." "It did," I said evenly. "Just not the way you think." I turned the book over, revealing a sticky note I'd added years ago. Lesson 1. Never let anyone else define what growing up means. They stared, silent. I leaned forward slightly. You didn't raise me to succeed. You raised me to obey. But I learned that real maturity isn't about paying debts you never owed. It's about knowing your worth and protecting it. Dad opened his mouth, but I didn't let him interrupt. I built this company from nothing, I said, voice calm but edged with fire. No handouts. No investors. No support. Every late night, every failure, every win, that was mine. You taught me how to survive without you. So, thank you for that. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the city below. Mom's expression wavered, half shame, half disbelief. You're talking to your parents, she whispered, almost offended. I know, I said softly. And I'm finally doing it as an adult. For a moment, no one spoke. Then I slid a glossy portfolio across the table, my company's valuation report. This, I said, tapping the cover, is what you wanted 40% of. But I'm keeping it all. Because growing up means knowing what's yours and what isn't. Their faces shifted, confusion to shock, then something like realization. I smiled, not with malice, but peace. You gave me a book on how to grow up. I guess it worked. They didn't leave right away. They just sat there, awkward, stunned, as if trying to reconcile the daughter they once lectured with the woman sitting in front of them now. Mom broke the silence first. We didn't mean it like that, she said, her voice trembling slightly. It's just we thought maybe you'd want to share your success. We're family. That word, family, hit me like an echo. Once it had meant belonging. Now it felt more like leverage. I closed the portfolio and folded my hands on the desk. I do want family in my life, I said slowly, but not the kind that measures love in percentages. Dad scoffed. You think you're better than us now? I met his gaze. No. I think I finally understand us. For the first time, I spoke with the same calm authority I used in boardrooms. Not defensive, not pleading. Just steady. You both had your version of growing up, getting degrees, jobs, houses. Mine looked different. You thought it was childish, but it was just another route to adulthood. They said nothing. So I continued. If you really want to be part of my life, I said, there are a few conditions. Mom looked confused. Conditions? Yes. I nodded. First, no money talk.
My business isn't a family ATM.
If you visit, it's because you want to see me, not my income. Dad frowned but stayed quiet. Second, I went on, respect my boundaries. Stop treating me like a teenager who needs approval. I've made mistakes and paid for them with my own time, money, and heart.
You don't get to rewrite that.
Their silence was heavy, but I could see something shifting behind Mom's eyes. Guilt, maybe recognition. Third, I said more gently, if we're going to rebuild this, it has to come from honesty, not manipulation. If you can't give that, then I'd rather have distance than obligation. Mom's chin quivered. We didn't realize how much we hurt you. I gave her a small, sad smile. I know you didn't. That's why it took me years to forgive it. I had to grow up without resenting you, and that's harder than any business deal I've ever made. For the first time, Dad looked away, his jaw tight. So that's it? You cut us off unless we agree to your terms. No, I said softly. You're free to choose. But so am I. I stood and walked to the window. The city stretched endlessly below, busy, alive, unbothered. My reflection looked back at me, poised, composed, and unapologetically my own. When you gave me that book, I said, turning to them, you wanted me to become responsible, independent, practical. You just didn't expect me to succeed without you. But here I am, grown, in every way that matters. For a long moment, they said nothing. Then Mom rose quietly, her eyes glistening. You really did grow up, she whispered. I smiled. Finally. The following weeks passed quietly. No calls, no emails. The silence felt strange at first, like standing in a house where someone had just left and the air still remembered them. But soon it began to feel peaceful. Then one morning, an envelope arrived. No return address, Just my name in my mother's looping handwriting. Inside was a short note. We're sorry. We didn't understand what growing up really meant. We'd like to start over. No percentages, no conditions. Just parents, if you'll have us. Tucked beside it was a small velvet pouch. Inside, the compass pendant, the one my grandmother had given me all those years ago. I'd lost it during a move and assumed it was gone forever. On the back, something new was engraved. Follow your own north. I sat there for a while, just holding it, the metal warm for my palm. For the first time, I didn't feel the ache of old anger. Just quiet gratitude, not for what they'd done, but for how far I'd come. That weekend, I drove to Ohio. The same town, the same porch, but the girl who left years ago wasn't the one who returned. Mom met me at the door, her smile tentative, eyes softer than I remembered. Dad stood behind her, hands shoved in his pockets, unsure but trying. We didn't talk about the company. Or the money. We talked about small things, the garden, my grandmother's old recipes, the weather. It wasn't forgiveness in words, but in presence. Before I left, Mom glanced toward the hallway bookshelf. We still have that book, you know, she said. How to Grow Up. I smiled. Keep it, I told her. I finally figured it out. Back in my car, I held the compass against my chest and let the sunlight spill across the dashboard. For years, I thought success was about proving them wrong. But it never was. It was about becoming someone I could be proud of, someone who didn't need to win to be free. As I drove away, the city's skyline shimmered in the distance, my reflection steady in the glass. Turns out, I said softly, the words catching like a quiet revelation, I did grow up, just not into the woman they expected, but into the one I was always meant to be. Bottom of form.